Whoosh! This is my return video to the normal stuff that I'm doing. And yes, I have not taken off the shirt that I have in my last video because I wanted to shoot this back to back. I definitely could have went to my closet and changed shirts, but I'm just being lazy now. But this video that I'm making real quick is a Blu-ray haul of things that I've picked up since I've been gone in China. I have not been able to procure all these movies until recently, so now I'm broke again, and so here are the films that I picked up, and I hope you enjoy. I've seen a lot of these movies, and I haven't seen maybe a third of them, and so I'm excited to just talk a little bit about each of them. Alright, so let's first talk about the movies that I have not seen that I picked up. And this first one, specifically, is something that I've been waiting for the last, honestly, since the first movie of this director came out. But since I heard about it about 2 or 3 years ago, this production, I've been waiting to watch this, especially in theaters. So I'm a little pissed off that I missed it in theaters. But that movie right here is The Lighthouse. With Robert Eggers as the director, we got Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in this seafaring adventure. Listen, I have no idea anything about this film. I cannot wait to watch this movie. I'm picking a time and a place to figure out how I'm going to watch this for the first time. I'm really going to be very cautious about approaching this film. It's definitely my most anticipated movie of last year, and something that I've really wanted to watch, and I'm so excited to have it on Blu-ray. And honestly, I think I'm going to try to get my friend Palmer, who's been on the channel before. He has access to a private theater, and so I hope to do that. We saw Andrei Rublev on that theater about a year and a half ago, and I absolutely adored that film, especially when it came to, adore is a really weird word to put for Andrei Rublev, but I really loved that movie, especially watching it in a theater. And so I'm excited to maybe approach that with this movie. Honestly, I've heard the cinematography and the performances are phenomenal. Okay, so moving on from my fanboyism, because I'm really excited about that movie, is a movie that I didn't know much about. I watched the trailer before I left, but I honestly had not heard much about it, and that is Judy. And this is the story of Judy Garland. Renee Zellweger, she's the one who kind of portrays Judy, and I don't know much about this film, and yes, that's going to be a common theme for these first couple of movies that I'm going to be talking about. Few movies, couples too, but this is one movie that I'm really looking forward to. I've heard some nominations, especially for her performance, are put up there, and so I'm excited to watch this movie. And honestly, I cannot wait to check this movie out. It says Academy Award winner. Oh, okay. I know why. Because she's won in the past. And that's one movie that I'm excited to see. Next is Astra. And this is starring Brad Pitt. I don't really know much about this. I didn't watch the trailers at all, so I really don't know anything about this. I know that for the fact that the cinematographer from Interstellar has done the cinematography for this film as well. And so it's probably a gorgeous film. My roommate slash co-host on the podcast that I had done last year with my friend Joseph, this is his favorite film of the year, so I'm excited to see this movie, and I really trust his opinion on a lot of these movies, and so I'm really excited to check out Ad Astra. I like to call it Brad Brastra. Yeah, so it's a little dad joke that I never lost. I never lost my dad jokes. Alright, these are two films. These next ones are just two things I saw at the store, and I'm just like, yeah, why not? I'll pick it up. Penguin Highway is an anime film, real quick. I don't really know much about this, but I really love a lot of Studio Ghibli films, and I really love a lot of these animated films that are coming kind of right next to it. And this is from Shout Factory, actually, on the side, I just noticed, but I'm excited to check this movie out. Let me know down in the comments below if you've seen this one and if it's worth checking out, but I was excited to get it because it was relatively cheap, so excited to see this one. This next one I picked up is because of the name Ethan Hawke, and that's Adopt a Highway. And so I got this movie because I love Ethan Hawke. He's one of my favorite actors, and he's one of my favorite people. Every interview I've seen him, he seems so humble and so just warming and just nice, and so I'm excited to see this film, Adopt a Highway. Honestly, I don't really know much about it. It's from Blumhouse Productions, and also Dove approved. So I'm very confused by all of these stickers and advertisements. So we'll see what this movie's like, and I'm excited to see it because Ethan Hawke has really great performances all around. So that kind of cut the cutoff toward things that I have not seen yet. So these rest of these movies I have seen. I told my mother to pick up some of these movies on Black Friday, and I paid her back right when I got back. So some of these movies are just fun movies I wanted to get that were really cheap on Black Friday when I wasn't here. The first one is Detective Pikachu. I love Pokemon. I've loved Pokemon since 1997, since I was 5 years old. And honestly, this is the first film that's like kind of live action-y that has really kind of captured the spirit of Pokemon. And I just really loved that this movie, it really was like fairly safe, and honestly the performances are, you know, what to expect from you know, a production like this. But for the most part, I had a really good time with this movie. And honestly, it's just a really fun movie, and I really like it, and I really love Pokemon, and so this is just something that's fun. And I really wish that Danny DeVito would play Pikachu, but Ryan Reynolds did a really great job as well. I wish for a universe where both exist. Honestly, that's what I have to say about that. This next one is a really great film that I really liked before I left, and that is Rocketman. Taron Egerton plays the one, the only beautiful man right here, Elton John. And I just really loved how this movie kind of dived deeper than something like Bohemian Rhapsody did. This is a much better film, in my opinion, at portraying kind of the struggle of being yourself, and something that I think that Elton John maybe he had probably a lot of direction with this film, but he probably did not divulge everything, obviously. But for an entertaining film, Taron Egerton did a really great job of portraying Elton John, and this is a really great movie, and I completely recommend this one. And it's something that is a really good time and has really good music and just really good performances. Really fun movie. Next, we're going to talk about some DC double features real quick. I'll just do both. We got Shazam, get the little shiny right there, and then Aquaman. This is the 4K version. This is just the Blu-ray. My mom, I guess, didn't know really the difference, so she got both. So anyway, my point is, these are two of the more interesting DC films that I actually enjoy. I don't love them, but these are fun ones for sure. I would say Wonder Woman still might be the best of the DC franchise, but these movies, specifically Shazam, which I like a little bit more than Aquaman, is just a really fun kind of just coming-of-age dark comedy. It has elements. I think it's trying to be a little bit Marvel-y, but I don't mind. And so Shazam was a fun time, even though maybe the villains were a little lackluster, even though you had really good performances by Mark Strong. I was forgetting who it was. But Mark Strong had a good time being a villain. I liked him. And then when it comes to Aquaman, I don't recall much. I just remember having a much better time when I was watching this. I just turned my brain off and watched this movie for what it was, and it was a fun movie. And honestly, these are just fun movies. Honestly, that's all I have to say about that. Next, we have the Lego Movie Part 2, the second part. I said that wrong. I enjoyed the first Lego Movie quite a bit. This is more of a rehashing of that. It's not as successful because it's kind of the second go-around as like most movies, but it's a fun movie, and I had a really good time with it. I don't really remember terribly too much. I just remember kind of watching it and enjoying it as I normally would most of these types of films, right? But this is a good movie, and honestly, you should check this one out if you haven't. Next is, speaking of Marvel and superheroes we just mentioned, Captain Marvel. This is a movie that I liked initially when it came out, I think February. I don't remember when it came out of last year, but it was a good movie, even though some of the performances felt a little flat, and honestly, maybe some of these characters aren't developed enough to where I should care as much about their role in the universe, but for the most part, I had a good time with this movie. There was some really fun parts to it. I like to see the intricacies of going in the past and kind of connecting them to all the dots leading up to Avengers Infinity War. Yes. and Endgame. And so seeing all those connections were really cool. And so it's a good movie. I enjoy it, and I like all the twists and turns that it have in it. Next is a movie called Stuber, which is with Kamal Namjani and Dave Bautista, who is my favorite wrestling actor who transitioned into the silver screen. He, I think, is the absolute best, just based on his Blade Runner performance, one of the enjoyable parts of Spectre. He also plays Drax in the Marvel Universe in the Guardians films, and he's a good dude. He seems like a really great guy, but their chemistry was really fun. I really enjoyed this movie. It's definitely one of those like films that you can just kind of shut your brain off, but it's just like one of those buddy cop type of movies. It's a good comedy, and I think you should definitely check this movie out if you haven't seen that one. I'm going all over the place because of my pile. Going back to Marvel, we have Spider-Man Far From Home, and this is the second Spider-Man movie in the Marvel Universe. It's the first movie out after Endgame, and so it's the first one to kind of like reset and like kind of look at the world anew after all of these events that have happened. So I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I like Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, and honestly, I don't know much about what the future of the Spider-Man franchise looks like, especially when it comes to Sony and Marvel. I know there's a little bit of something going on. Before I left, I thought I remember like maybe some type of cancellation. Do not quote me on that. I have no idea. But I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I need to look more into it. Next is a movie that I enjoyed, and it was just a fun time. A good different adaptation of King Arthur, and that's The Kid Who Would Be King. It's kind of a modern adaptation of the King Arthur story, and it's just a really fun time. It's just set in England, and this little kid who just happens to get bestowed Arthur's sword and kind of needs to stop from the world from ending from this evil witch. And it's just one of those fun movies that it's a good time. And honestly, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. So I enjoyed that film. Next is a movie that I really enjoyed, and I was actually really surprised that they pulled this off, and that was Aleta: Battle Angel. And so this is a movie that I enjoyed for better or for worse for its kind of brutalness, in the sense that it's a PG-13 movie that has a lot of really crazy things and really fun things to do in this universe that is set up by James Cameron, I believe. But unfortunately, I don't believe it's Robert Rodriguez. I think James Cameron did something to do with this. He had to. Production, probably. Robert Rodriguez. That's the reason it was brutal, because it's Robert Rodriguez. I know that. But this movie was fun. I had a really good time with this movie. I fear that the numbers don't say for a sequel, but it kind of sets up for a sequel. And so I hope to see more of Aleta and more of that world in the future, but we'll see how that works. Next is the third chapter in the John Wick series, Parabellum. Just one of those fun shoot-'em-up movies that I had a really good time. I have a really good memory attached to this film at a drive-in theater. I watched John Wick 2 and 3 back-to-back on that, but I also watched it in theaters as well. I had a fun movie experience with this one. This is just a fun series. The first John Wick is the best John Wick, but it's just a good continuation of this ever-evolving kind of story from a really simplistic plot point that is making it a little bit more complex in this world. So it's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie. Next is one of the best movies of the year, in my opinion, that I've seen so far, and that is Us. I really enjoyed Jordan Peele's second film that he created, and Us was a really great film, social commentary kind of on, you know, current state of affairs when it comes to politics, but also race, and also when it comes to what makes us afraid. And really that thing, you know, in the title is pretty obvious. This is at least my interpretation of it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I could probably get more thematics and more out of it if I have watched it. But it's just one of those movies that kind of just makes us reflect a little bit more on how we view other people and how we treat each other. And honestly, it's that kind of dark, Twilight Zone-y. I'm saying all this because Jordan Peele has something to do with the new Twilight Zone, but I mean in the sense that you can see this as a continuation of Get Out, or at least it could be You can tell it was made by the same director, but he went a little bit a different direction with this film, and I really liked it. And I really liked the music, and I really liked the performances, especially from this lady right here. She was just fantastic. Lupita Nyong'o, who, I hope I'm saying that correctly, she is phenomenal in this movie, and really great performances all around. Alright, so now for some more movies that came out earlier this last year, I guess it's 2020 now, that I really enjoyed. The first one is one of the movies that just had me laughing just nonstop, and that was Booksmart. And this is a really fantastic directorial debut by Olivia Wilde, I believe. Yes, Olivia Wilde directed this. I forgot. I was trying to see if I was correct. But this movie is more or less the Superbad for girls, I guess, to an extent. It's one of those set in one night, all this crazy shenanigans happens, but it's just more than just Superbad. It's its own thing, and honestly, it's one of the funniest movies I've seen all year. I had a really great time with this movie. I cracked up the whole time, and honestly, I'm excited to see what Olivia Wilde has next in just what she's gonna direct, and also what she'll be in. She's in this movie as well. She's a really great character in this movie, but I really like the performances as well. Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein. I know some of these characters, I just can't remember where they're from. I really like the movie. It's really fun. I liked it a lot. Speaking of fun films, this next one is a really fun game of hide and seek, and that's Ready or Not. It's a really kind of survival horror with a dose of dark comedy involved with it as well. It's really fun movie. Just kind of one of those films that you just have a really good time watching with other people. And I watched it before I left for China, and I had a really good time with this one. What a crazy story. So, fun one. Next movie is a little bit more of the tone of Booksmart, and also kind of like Superbad, but for kids, right? They're preteens, and that's Good Boys. I know that before I left for China, this is one of the last movies that I saw, but I was having a really terrible week that week, if I recall, and I just remember going to this movie kind of just like, okay, shut my brain off, just enjoy this movie for what it is, and I got more from it. I laughed so much from this movie. Yeah, it's really immature, and definitely can be just one of those things that you've seen over and over and over again, but just in the eyes of it, like just these little kids, right? These preteens. But I had a really good time with this movie, and this movie, I have a story attached with it. When I was watching it, actually, I watched it when I was in the theaters with my friend Steven, who's been on the channel. You'll see him very shortly, I'm sure, once I catch up with all my Oscar films, and we'll do our predictions. But I was watching with Steven, and I remember I was adjusting my seat, and then all of a sudden, in one of the scenes, just one of the characters appears at a window, you know, kind of that classic scare. But I was looking at the side of my eye, and I noticed that, and I like legitimately like yelped because I was so scared. I don't know why. It's definitely not a part where you shouldn't be scared, but it was hilarious because then we all started laughing because I was terrified. I have no idea why. Steven and I laughed for a good like 2 minutes, and honestly we were like trying to control our laughter from after that. But funny time. Good Boys is a good movie. I like it. Speaking of comedies, in a very different type of direction, from the less slapstick dumb humor to the very dry and like kind of witty humor, and humor that I really love, and that's The Art of Self-Defense. I loved this movie. I love the marketing. In fact, I'm a big fan of the band Full of Hell, and they're a metal band that happens to appear in this movie. The director, who I don't know yet, it's in here somewhere. I changed the art cover here. The director, Riley Stearns, he's a fan of the band, and I just really love Jesse Eisenberg's performance in this movie. It's just such a fun movie. I had a really good time with this movie. It's so crazy and over the top, and it's definitely it's commenting on toxic masculinity and a lot of different types of themes throughout, you know, just our culture. But at the same time, it has a really fun twist to it, and I really love that element about it. And I really love metal, and so I really love this movie, even though it kind of is making fun of metal, even though the director really likes metal. So I'm excited about that. Next is a really crazy film, the second movie by Ari Aster, and that is Midsummer. Midsummer. I don't know. Anyway, this is the director of Hereditary. He made the film that came out a year prior to this, and it's kind of its polar opposite, because it's in the day, it's during the Swedish festival. Now, I would say that this is a film that had a lot going in for it, because a lot of people really loved Hereditary, and I think most of the people I know are pretty split on this movie, but I really enjoyed it, and I've heard from my friends who have partaken in hallucinogens that this is one of the closer films to get to what that actually is, what that looks like on a film in particular, and how it really portrays that. But for the most part, this is a really fun movie, really messed up movie, definitely from that twisted kind of angle that Ari Aster has. I enjoyed it, and honestly, I'm excited to see more of his films. Call me a fanboy, I don't know. I just really love his movies, and honestly, I cannot wait to check out more. Next is probably my favorite movie of the year. I haven't seen everything, and honestly I'm still adjusting to a lot of the movies I just watched, like Uncut Gems in 1917, but this is the movie that really struck a chord with me, especially before I left for China, because the story specifically has something to do with China, and so I don't know why, but I felt it had a connection with this movie, and that is called The Farewell. Now, the connection I really have is about my grandfather. He passed a few years ago, and so the setup of this movie, which is a little bit funny in a way, but in a different cultural shock, is you have Awkwafina, who is right here. She realizes her and her family live in America, but her father and her mother are from China, and their family is mostly in China, and they left when they were really, really young, or when she was really young, and then so they're getting called back to China for this faux wedding, because they realize that her grandmother is going to die soon, but she doesn't know it. The grandmother's aunt, I guess her why can't I think of it? A great aunt, I guess her great aunt, kind of informs the family of the grandmother who is about to pass, and so in China specifically, the culture is that you won't tell the person who's about to die, that they're going to die, and so instead you would come and try to comfort them and just be with them as much as possible, even though they don't really know what's going on. But in the guise of this wedding, they come to see this cousin's wedding, right here, this cousin who's going to marry this girl. But the whole family comes back to China, and you just see this breakdown of whether or not Awkwafina will have the guts to kind of tell her grandmother that, like, hey, you're gonna die, but everybody else is like, we should not tell her this because it's different. There's a cultural difference, right? And so there's that little bit of American and China kind of cultural clash, really subtly in this movie. But Lulu Wang directed this amazing film, and I felt such a connection to it because of, like I said, my grandfather who passed a few years ago. But there's just really some really amazing performances and really amazing moments that happen in this film that are absolutely stunning, and it's such a great film, and it has such a good heart to it, and especially when it comes to understanding the dynamic of a family, understanding that cultural difference, and understanding just who you are as a person and where you stand in society. So it's one of those movies that really just blew me away. So this is a great movie. I highly recommend checking this movie out if you have not seen it. It's mostly in Mandarin, but it's amazing. It's amazing. All right, these last two movies there's a third movie I had to talk about. There's two more real quick. I'm going to try to get through this quickly. Now, Kino Lorber put out this movie that came out years and years ago. It's Ryan Johnson's first film, Brick. And I really love this movie. It's a really cool and crazy detective type of story with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's just a really good movie. If you haven't seen this one, you need to check this movie out. It's really crazy. And honestly, it's just one of those really, really fun films. Check that movie out if you haven't seen it. I've had the DVD for years, and now finally it's on Blu-ray, so I'm excited. And this next one, if you've seen this channel before, you know how much I love this movie. In fact, behind me, there's Pan right there. Pan's Labyrinth. This is my favorite foreign language film of all time. It's a movie I see every year, usually around Halloween, so I missed it last year. But I absolutely love this movie. But it's on 4K now, and so I wanted to get the 4K. I have the Criterion. I have all these different things involved with this movie. I really want the soundtrack on LP. Really, really bad, because I love Javier Navarrete's score for this movie. It's such a beautiful film, and I love it. Del Toro did such a great job with this movie. So anyway, I needed to get the 4K. That's something I just needed to do. Okay, the last thing is a big one, and it's the movie that I asked my mother to pick up, or the films, plural. The one thing that I got from Criterion from last year. Dun 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 dun. Wait, why am I doing Jaws? Anyway, Godzilla. I got this Godzilla Criterion box set real quick. I haven't opened it yet. This is the first 15 films from the Godzilla series, straight from 1954 all the way to 1975. I've been waiting to open this for you, so you're welcome. I'm so excited to talk about this film. These films, why I keep saying plural, the singular thing, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been in front of a camera. It's weird talking in front of you guys. Oh, this is beautiful. I haven't done this yet. Whoa! Oh, you can hear all that. There's Godzilla himself. Oh my goodness. I've been wanting this since this is spine number 1000 and in the Criterion catalog. You got really great discussions right here. You got kind of the discussion of from Stephen Rifle. Ed, wow, okay, so maybe a Polish name. Godzisławski and Ishiro Honda. I can say the Japanese name, but I can't say the Polish name. So anyway, that's the film essay. You have all of the films with different artwork. All these 15 different films. Such a cool design. I really love that one. The Godzilla and Mothra, right there. This is the first time I've seen this. Oh wow. This is just amazing stuff right here with amazing artwork. I'm really excited to check these movies out. I've seen the first Godzilla. I have that actually on Criterion, but I'm excited to finally check out all the other films. It's hard to keep this up. That's what she said. Anyway, there's all of these really, really great things. I'm going to do this one at a time. Godzilla versus Hedorah. Godzilla versus Gigan. Probably not pronouncing all these correctly. It's been a long time since I've watched these Godzilla movies. I watched some of them when I was a kid, but it's been a long time, so I don't really remember too much. Godzilla versus Megalon. These are just really cool kaiju films, real quick. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I remember watching this as a kid, and this was a really fun one for me. Terra of Mechagodzilla, real quick. I love all those, that comic book-esque sound effects on the page. It's really cool. Oh, wow. And then there's all the films right here. And this cool pop-up design. Wow, it's so cool that something like this exists. And there's a sticker on the back. I could remove it and talk more about this. But I'm so excited to own this. It's going to sit right next to my Bergman box set. I still need to finish those movies, and I still need to get Chris involved. If you've watched this, I was dissecting the Criterion Bergman box set earlier last year, but it kind of went on a hiatus because really busy schedules, and honestly I think Chris lost interest, but I'll figure out something else. But I'm excited to check out this and explore this. So anyway, thank you very much for checking out my first Blu-ray haul back in 2020. I know that was a lot. I had a lot more to say. Also, forgive me for mispronouncing things and also saying a lot of ums, uhs, and all of those mishaps. it's been a long time since I've been here. And so anyway, thank you so much for checking out this. Tell me some more things that I should pick up. Tell me whether or not the stuff that I picked up is junk. That's fine. I don't really care. I enjoy all these movies and some of the movies I have not seen yet. So I'm really excited to explore all these movies once again, and now that I'm back home. Thank you very much for watching this video. Give this video a like, comment down below, check out more of the channel, share this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.